About like 9 years ago now, maybe 10. I don't remember why, but I had this question that I Googled. Can instant healing be possible? Like from different stories of how people healed cancer and certain things that some people would go to a doctor and they would diagnose you with something like severe and you have very little time left to live. And then all of a sudden people either change their diet or change something happened in their life, and there's this spontaneous remission. So there are stories on that, and I wanted to research how is that possible, what makes it happen. And I came across various things, but I also came across QHHT, which stands for Quantum Healing Hypnosis Technique by Dolores Cannon. And this lady, who's now passed away, but she was a wife of a military in US, a wife of a military man, I think living abroad mostly, until his car accident, and then they, I think, moved back to US. But she was raising kids, and then at some point helping her husband because he was into like hypnosis for some reason. But mostly hypnosis, like most people know it as like, oh, you want to get rid of a certain bad habit. But then all of a sudden they do a hypnotic session with someone, and the lady starts talking about memories which seemed like not of this lifetime. And that's how they came across these like potential past lives. And whether I believe in past lives or not kind of doesn't matter, but there's definitely people out there who have done hypnotic sessions of people, and these people went into certain memories, whether that's your own, that person's past life, whether reincarnation exists, whether it's a strong visualization, whether it's tapping into some DNA, maybe you're seeing your ancestors' memories. I don't know, but there is something to it. And then me and my wife are really interested in that field, so we did the course. We paid like $1,000 to do the online, super extensive kind of course of all the information that how Dolores Cannon does it. And she's that lady who died. She was probably like mid 80s. She wrote like almost 20 books, and I find her books almost like a mixture of all book genres. And if I constantly kind of think of that, if I had a few books to take with me, if I'm like stranded on an island by myself, I feel like her books would be the best because they tap into a journalistic documentary type of book, fiction and non-fiction mixed together. Possibly there's like spirituality in there, there's philosophy in that book, there's all like comedy and drama and thriller. Every book genre is in her books because she deals with the way she writes her books is like she's the one doing past life regression sessions on people, and then they go into these memories, and the memories can be of absolutely everything, like UFOs. The books she wrote are amazing. Even if you just read it as like, oh, this is a fiction novel, it's still fascinating. It's incredible to read. But I think there's some truth in there. Maybe some things that are potentially could be misunderstood, and maybe eventually they will be like, oh wow, what she wrote is actually true. Like, I don't know, but the books are incredible. They're very interesting to read, all of them. And then I guess before we even got the course of how to do this on each other, which we practiced several times, and my wife actually still practices this practice with people as whenever she has time, because she's a full-time teacher, doctor, cook for our kids. And she's very good at it. I don't have patience because the way that session works is you're like 4, 5, 6 hours with a person. Half of the time is spent in talking about their life, like non-hypnotically. You just talk about life, what concerns you, what you feel like you're going to get from the session, what you think the session is all about, like how much Dolores books you read, like all of that stuff. You just talk. It's like an interview to get to know the person, and then the person lies down comfortably on their back, and the session begins by slowly taking, it's a meditation. It's a guided one-on-one in-person meditation. If like that's, it's called hypnosis, but hypnosis could be like when we're driving, there's hypnosis in effect. When we're reading a book, we get hypnotized by the story. Like someone might be saying our name and we're like so invested in the book that we're like hypnotized by the story that we're not hearing the outside noise. And that happens when we drive. We get, especially from drives that we do constantly, repetitive drives, we see things, we see the lights, we know where things are, we are attentive, but there's some kind of an element that we know this road that we're not as attentive, even though we're doing it safely. I'm sure if you drive, you've experienced that. So hypnosis might have like a bad representation or visualization to certain people, where like, oh, the hypnosis is when the hypnotist tells me to take my pants off and do something silly and everybody laughs and I have no memory of that. That's not necessarily true. Maybe that's like part of some people's abilities of hypnotizing other people. But when it comes to QHHT or quantum healing hypnosis technique, this is taking a person's consciousness to a relaxed state where their body and mind are so relaxed, and they start progressively visualizing themselves up until the mind almost lets go, and whatever comes, and that usually in itself, no matter what, when you're in a relaxed state and you start like being guided into seeing certain visualizations, and then you start seeing on your own, and the person leading that session for you is just there for you not to fall asleep and guide you to keep visualizing, keep going deeper and deeper. And it's not a video or audio that's recorded. It's literally watching the person who's lying down on their back and listening to them, getting the feedback, and then slowly taking them deeper and deeper into different states of visualization and emotional states. And whether, again, that's past lives, whether it's certain visualizations, whether it's imagination, in any case, whatever happens when a person is lying down and visualizing something, and there's a back and forth chat between the person who's doing the session and the one who's lying down and closing their eyes and having the visualizations, no matter what it is, no matter whether it's DNA, past lives, whatever it is, there's a great benefit in doing that for 2 hours of visualization and what you see, and having the person to guide you through that. Because when we're not consuming any information from outside, when we're so relaxed and our eyes are closed, isn't it? It's like your own personal internal Netflix or YouTube content machine. It's incredible to see what people visualize within those 2 hours. And that already in itself could tell you about yourself so many things. And I wish more and more people would do that by themselves, where you might be lying down, trying to do it when you're not too tired, so you're not falling asleep, or sitting like meditating for 2 hours. Maybe it's not about being consistent, but just taking the time when you have the time to just sit there for 2 hours and just seeing what comes up in your mind, what kind of emotions, what kind of thoughts, frustrations, or good thoughts, like what comes up if you don't consume any information, especially nowadays, where all we do is either talk to someone, watch something, listen to something, we go somewhere, we have to like constantly be involved in life, that, and a lot of it is like nonsense. A lot of it is just wasted time. So what happens if you just for 2 hours just kind of consume yourself, go within? And QHHT allows that for with like it's like a personal guided meditation one-on-one. The person is right there. They're not letting you fall asleep. They're guiding you through what you see. It's amazing, but it's totally possible to do it by yourself. And starting this video, I wanted to share the things that I saw, and but I'll share it quickly. The first time when we practiced after doing the course and my wife put me under this session, I saw the first thing is that I'm lying there in real life. I'm lying on my back, and all of a sudden I feel like my hand is turned this way, but I was lying down with my hand like this. But I was totally feeling like my hand was turned like this, and I was holding something like a spear. And what I saw was this like athlete on a field, like fighting some other athlete, like potentially to the death. And it wasn't like glorious like the movie Gladiator. There were like not too many people. I remember it was just like, it was not like a glorified thing that I would visualize. I didn't want to visualize that, but the fact that I was lying down and my hands were like just on the couch, my palms facing down, and then I physically, once you get deeper and deeper into visualization and being guided into like relaxing more and more, I felt like I was there, and I felt like my hand was reversed, like my palm was facing up and I was holding a spear. And then certain moments were like very mundane. There was no like anything heroic. It was just like the feelings that I remember from that session were this like small town. I was by myself. There was very like, it felt like maybe Greece when you see pictures of like these stone dwellings where you kind of overlook the ocean, and then there's this small field, and then very small narrow pathways, and then I was just relaxing in this very mundane looking dwelling. It's not even a home, it's like a little cave almost. And then I was also thinking like, oh, there's so many people out there, and all I'm doing is training, and I wanted to connect with other people. And that kind of resonates with me in this life. That resonated into my understanding of like, especially during that time, all I wanted to do is bike across Canada. And I don't remember if we did the session before I biked or after. I don't remember. But in any way, like there's a lot of moments in my life where I just wanted to retreat and be by myself. And even how I biked across Canada, I started with a friend, and then the way I wanted to do it, it was just too quick, too focused. I didn't want to go and do sightseeing. I just wanted to boom, 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 just bike, put my head down and bike. And that lifetime or that memory or that visualization kind of made me realize that I wanted to maybe relate more to people or something. I was watching, as that athlete, I was watching other people just be happy and live their lives outside of this like training mode, and that was kind of interesting. And then maybe connecting that, like maybe I did live that kind of life before, and maybe that's why I am the way my mind is in this lifetime. Maybe that's why it's like that. That's just like a small moment. Then another session we did, I remember myself being this like estate, maybe like medieval-ish times, where I was fighting on a horse, and I would come back to my house, and there was a bunch of people like working in that estate, and it was in the middle of a forest, and then I would go fight and then come back, and then we have a large feast. And then I remember the state of that, it was so relaxed that after coming out of the session, or even during the session, I would laugh, almost like that person would laugh, and I would never like be that kind of relaxed in real life, this life, the way I was like letting go of like almost like stupid, silly laughter. But also there's some moments where like not being concerned about dying. I remember the last moment seeing of that past life regression. I was kind of young, dying, and everybody would gather and like, but I would be like, why are you worried about death? Like it's just another state, another, like, I'll move on to another life. It's okay. But people are crying in the background, that kind of thing. And then I somehow felt like this super duper love for the horse that was in that past life. And I remember clearly, like, that was an emphasis, like I love that horse and like something like that. And then also the cooks in that past life regression, the cooks that I saw working in that estate, I totally, without a doubt now, think that I worked for those, the cooks that were in my past life regression were the couple of cooks that had that I worked for making bread and like salads. They owned a store in Montreal, and I worked for them for a few months. And just the way they were, how they acted, like, I did that session before. I remember the moment of me as that estate owner, person, warrior, kingish type of looking person, going down and talking to the cooks in his estate. And then the vibe that I get from that, and then finding work to work at a store, helping make bread. And I totally think the two owners at that store in Montreal had the same energy as those people that I met, that I remembered in my past life regression. I totally think that there's a possibility that there's like a karmic exchange in this lifetime that happened there. So there's like, and I bet the more you meditate by yourself, the longer you spend time just consuming yourself and having those QHHT regression sessions done with other people, with guided QHHT regression sessions, there's so much that we can learn about ourselves, without like, maybe without even like meditating, having a consistent daily meditation practice. But I think it does have to take like a decent amount of time where your mind is and physical body are tired enough that 2 hours is almost the minimum to do that. And that's why maybe QHT takes 4 or 5 hours, where a person gets to talk about their life and they're already a little bit tired, and then they go into the session, and then your body and mind are already tired enough where you can have these like almost dream-like, but not so much dream-like, because the person sitting beside you is not allowing you to fall asleep, because they're constantly asking you questions, trying for you to keep visualizing, keep saying out loud what you see, and that makes you not fall asleep. But it still is so relaxing that somehow you go into these different mental consciousness states, which is incredible. I feel like when I talk about all the 12 spheres of life, this is like the 8th sphere or the 12th sphere of life, trying to have this like relationship contentment with absolutely everything and everyone that we know, and also like a part of existential contentment, trying to make sense of our life as a whole. And I think meditation by yourself, long hours meditation, long practice, and QHHT are two incredible free. Well, I guess QHHT, if you do it with someone else, is not free, but meditating by yourself is free. For 2 hours, try to be there, sit still, not move, or lie down, close your eyes, not consuming any information, noise, finding that quiet to like go internally is so important. And it's overall, frick, it's really missing in our education system. It's really missing in our day-to-day culture, how we view life. We mostly focus on work, money, getting by, surviving, technological advancements, but we are human beings on a little ball in space. Don't you wonder? Don't you want to wonder how it's all even possible, and where you might come from as a soul? And just meditation in itself, pondering on those questions, but not just philosophically asking those questions, but having a direct personal experience is what truly matters. And I totally believe QHHT and that your direct personal experience with practicing meditation are one of the most powerful practices you can do outside of maybe doing drugs, that like psychedelic drugs. But I think QHHT and personal meditation are way more potent because you develop a skill. Meditation potentially is a skill. When you sit down and don't require anything of a substance to get you there, you don't need anything. You don't need to smoke anything. You don't need to inhale anything. You don't need to like consume anything. All the chemistry is within ourselves, and I totally believe that it's so practical to practice meditation to achieve those states. And it's really missing in our education system, in our culture, that this is a thing to do on a daily basis, on a weekly basis, or a monthly basis, or a yearly basis, to just not consume anything externally and go to like a personal retreat. And God, I wish I'm gonna have enough resources to build spaces for people to meditate deeply like that. An ashram. I want my own ashram, damn it. Okay, over.